Hey there. I know people get annoyed when people brag about their kids, and I know it's not particularly entertaining to listen to, but I do want to use this channel to kind of chronicle a bit of my family history, so I wanted to talk a little bit about my son Michael. Michael's 4 years old, and on Sunday, actually on Mother's Day, he came up to my wife and me and he said, 66 plus 77 equals 11 times 13. And we paused for a second and we realized he was right. And it's not, we know he loves math, and it's not so much that he was right about that, because he's pretty good at math, but what would even make him think of that? And we saw that he was playing with two little toy cars. One had the number 66 on it, one had the number 77. And what I'm guessing is he saw that and said, well, 6 times 11 is 66, and 7 times 11 is 77, so 6 plus 7 is 13. Of course, 13 times 11 equals 66 plus 77. That must have been his thought process or something like that. And he's 4 years old. He won't be 5 until October 15th. I mean, so that's very impressive to me. And I'm just, as a daddy, I'm really proud of him. And more than you can even imagine, because, we didn't know if we'd get to this point with Michael. Michael was diagnosed years ago, about 2 years ago, with autism spectrum disorder. Now, there's different types of autism. There's like a very severe type, and there's a very mild type, which is sometimes called, well, the different versions of it. Some people call Asperger syndrome, and that's probably what Michael is going to wind up being like. Though at first we had no way of knowing. When Michael was 2 years old, he barely spoke at all. Lucky to get a single word out of him. And even by the time it was 3, the most he would do like 2-word sentences. So in the last year and a half, he's about 4.5 now, he's made tremendous progress. And I couldn't be more proud. And as I said, he's really loves mathematics now, and he's obviously very intelligent as far as that goes. Though we're not out of the woods yet. I mean, I think he has a very high IQ, but I think at this point he probably still has a very low social IQ. I mean, socially, he's probably more like a three-year-old than a 4.5-year-old. He still doesn't really, he makes eye contact okay now. He's not crazy about it, and he doesn't really pick up people's social cues the way a lot of kids his age would. So you worry. I mean, you worry about what's going to happen later on in his life. I mean, yeah, he might be some great scientist someday, but, will he never find someone to love? Will he, be alone, when me and my wife are gone? You worry about that. Is he going to be able to connect with someone, that way? So that worries me a lot. But, all in all, I'm very proud of the progress he's made. I'm very proud of my little boy. And while I'm mentioning that, I mean, my son Peter as well. He's coming along as well. He actually has the same sort of issues that Michael has. He's almost 3. He turns 3 in June, and he barely speaks. He says a word here or there. He'll use one-word commands for things, but he's certainly not speaking sentences yet. And actually, he is further behind than Michael was at the same age. And both of them are getting lots of speech therapy. They have speech therapists, and they're going to... Well, when Peter becomes 3, he'll start going to classes for speech therapy. Actually, going to all-day classes, which was what Michael did. That really helped Michael out a lot. Peter will start that soon, so hopefully he'll make progress. But, Peter's different in the sense that he doesn't have any of the autism-type symptoms. He looks you in the eye. He's very emotionally connected to people. He pays attention to people. He just doesn't want to talk at all. We really can't figure out why yet. And... so that's a problem, but he's also really smart. He understands what you tell him. He plays these educational video games where they have relatively complex verbal instructions and you can follow them, so he knows what people are saying. And he was playing a game the other day where they would say a word and you had to push a button to say what letter the word began with. Like they would say dog and there'd be 4 letters. You had to push the D, and he was doing it right. So he as you saw in his little video he did a month or so ago, he knows his alphabet. He likes to sing little songs, but once again he's having trouble speaking as well. And so, I'm really not out of the woods yet with either of my little boys, and it gets me really nervous. I mean, as a father, ever since Mike was diagnosed with this issue, it's been constant worrying about, you want your children to be happy and to be happy in life and not to have problems. And, there've been a lot of really hard times, and I mean, I know we're fortunate they don't have anything. I mean, there are kids that are much worse off, but still, when it's your own child, you worry about them all the time, and you just want to make sure they get by. And I think they're both going to be pretty intelligent, which is good. They'll have high IQs, but I worry about their social IQ, so to speak. And I worry about that, and I feel guilty about it too, because I know it's probably something to do with my genes. I mean, I was okay growing up, but I had an uncle. Actually, my father's older brother, and my uncle, he still have him. He's still around. But my uncle was a valedictorian of his high school, and he went off to college, and he's obviously very high IQ, but he had a nervous breakdown in college because my dad tells me, I mean, well, I like to see it myself, he has kind of those same Asperger type symptoms. He's very high IQ, but probably a very, very low social IQ. I mean, he's basically crippled in that respect. So even though he was a valedictorian of his high school, he never went on to have like a great job. He just did very low skilled manual labor his whole life, and he never was able to have any significant other in his life. I mean never had a girlfriend, never got married. Though if a woman ever spoke to him, he thought, oh, the woman must be in love with him, and then sometimes he wound up calling her on the phone and harassing her over and over again, and because he doesn't really have the social abilities. And it was kind of sad. I mean, he's still physically okay, but he's in a nursing home now because he really can't take care of himself in the real world. And so it's a horrible thought, thinking, are my children gonna wind up like that? And so yeah, you worry about that kind of stuff. I mean, I'm worrying about Peter now because he's not speaking at 3, but I mean, what gives me some hope is that my younger brother didn't speak really more than a few sentences until he was 4 years old. And eventually he wound up being like a sports broadcaster for his college radio station. Actually a play-by-play man of games. So he wound up speaking fine. So I think, hopefully Peter will be okay and Michael will be okay. But, just some family history. Someday I'll look back at this and see how I was feeling in my life and how I was feeling about my kids and how my kids were doing. And hopefully they'll be able to look back at this someday and they'll be talking fine. They'll have nice families of their own and be able to talk about it and go over it. You just want the best for your kids. You worry about it, but I think they're doing okay. As I said, so proud of how much Michael has progressed, and I mean, I'm worried about little Petey, but he's got to hope that he keeps on moving on and he turns that corner too pretty soon. In any case, I said this is a very personal little vlog here, and not much else to say. So thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.